What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from the quarantine zone again, and this time we got round three with Gabe of On to Others. Great to be able to talk with you today, man. Thanks for being here.
You as well, man. It's always a pleasure to do these interviews with you.
Yeah, man, it's always a pleasure to be able to talk with you, and as well as hearing some brand new music. I'm so excited to hear the new album, Strength. The first question I actually wanted to get into before we really talk about Strength is because the last time I spoke to you, you were going by the name of Idle Hands, and you translated
Yeah.
to Onto Others. At all by having this new name. I think Onto Others is a really cool name as well. It's just as much open to interpretation and has just as much mystery behind it. Do you almost feel like
Yeah.
maybe that this in a way changes the identity of the band, or you're maybe portraying yourself a little bit differently on this album than you did with Mana?
Oh, for sure. I think a lot of the times a name is very important as to what a band becomes because it's always in the back of your mind. It's in your subconscious as you're writing music and lyrics and everything of your name, your image, your direction, your musical vibe. And I think a great name can, given to the right people, can create a great band. The biggest example of this for me would be Metallica. It's like the name was so perfect for them, they were almost destined to become fucking mega huge because you couldn't do anything else with that name, in my opinion. But with these names, no, it's not a Metallica per se. Like you said, it has a very mysterious vibe to it while remaining in canon with our previous name, Idle Hands. And yeah, it's influenced my writing style for sure. This record that we're about to put out is almost a bit more sinister, a bit more cold-hearted than the first one. The first one was dark and apathetic and epic and beautiful and all those things kind of roll into one. This one's a bit more gritty, and I think a lot of that did come from the name shift mixed with COVID-19, the hopelessness I was feeling. So yeah, there's like an intertwining of all of that,
Hmm.
um, based around the name for sure.
Do you think that the first two singles you released, Downtown and When Will God's Work Be Done, is a good representation of what like the entirety of Strength will sound like, or is that just the tip of the iceberg?
That's the tip of the iceberg, in my opinion. Every single song has something different to offer. Um, I would say what to expect is an honest continuation and evolution of what I am as a songwriter and what Mana was, um, just down a different, darker path. I'd say grittier path.
Yeah. And I remember like we were talking because when I interviewed you last year, it was like a week or two before you changed the name as well. So part of me was wondering, and you were telling me like what was going into the making of the new album and everything like that
Yeah,
beforehand. So part of me
yeah,
really wondered after getting to know your creativity for two interviews already. I was like, "Oh, I wonder how
yeah,
much it's going to change this time."
yeah, for sure. And it was different, man. I mean, I had so much more time. It was like 2 years from inception to completion with this, and especially with coronavirus, all the time off. Like, I mean, we entered the studio in like June, and then I think we wrapped it up finally in April of this year. So June of 2021 to April of this year, about 10 months in and out of the studio, just flying back and forth between Philadelphia to work with Arthur, and yeah, it was kind of a trip. It was a hard slog. I don't want to do it this way again, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I had fun. It was just like I like getting things done and out of the way. I don't like sitting on it and going back to it month after month after month.
Yeah, cause I remember we were talking about that where you were like, yeah, you don't you like to finish the same way when you finish a song as you do when you start it. Otherwise, it's gonna sound rather inconsistent, right?
Yeah, or you just lose interest. You're like, oh fuck, I got to work on this thing. I don't get to play. I have to work, and that's when it's the shittiest. That's why it's always really important as any kind of artist, in my opinion, when you have that strike of inspiration, fucking do it now and squeeze every last drop of it out. Like even if it means you're not going to bed till four in the morning or you're missing out on a dinner, because that is when you're going to come up with your best shit, and then you can refine the rest soberly later. But when you're in that creative inspired zone, you gotta go for it, you know.
Yeah, and
And yeah, go ahead.
from what I hear, all these stories is that inspiration tends to strike at sometimes the most inconvenient times as well, right?
It totally fucking does. Yeah, and it's like, but you got to make it your priority, you know, and roll with it. I guess you know it's just life.
Yeah. I'm always saying that they
Yeah,
need to make cars like that have like studios built into the control parts in a way where
yeah.
like, you could record and compress and do all that, or
Oh, while
maybe
you're driving,
yeah,
yeah.
maybe not the
For me,
bet.
I need a dictation device for my bike, right? Because I got Siri, and I'm like, Siri, take a note, and I talk into it, and it's like a mush of weird random words when I read it back later. You know, but I need some way to record vocal and lyric ideas while I'm riding. You know, like without having to get off my bike.
Yeah. I've always said that there's going to be a lot of love songs dedicated to Siri in like the future. That's going to be like the like Siri Child O' Mine or something like that.
Dude, that's actually yeah, that's a pretty sweet concept. Someone falling in love with their phone.
Yeah, she's got gigs and it speaks to me, reminds me of. I've earned myself a couple dislikes on that, but but being that you mentioned you worked on this for a long span of time, is what we're gonna hear on Strength, like how these songs were maybe originally structured or conceived to be, or did they like change a lot over a span of time? Like we're not hearing the first take of each song.
No, you're not. I mean, you're hearing the skeleton of each song when you listen for sure, but like from beginning to end, with every song I write, when you first hear it, if I handed you my first demo, you'd go, "This sounds like shit, and this is so boring. Like, what is this?" But it's about building on top of the basic foundation, and that's yeah. So like they definitely changed from beginning to end for sure. I never know what a song's going to be, you know, when we're done. I don't,
Yeah,
uh, because I want to leave it open ended. I want to allow space for it to become whatever it needs to be, not what I want it to be. And that's how I think you get something truly unique, as opposed to being like, that's not right. That's not how that should sound. It's like, how should it sound? Who the fuck made you king of the world? You know, like,
yeah.
you know, you got to leave a little bit up to of it up to fate, you know, for more inspiration, you know, later on.
Well, because from talking to you, I know that like "Don't Waste Your Time," for example, that was a statement that you held near and dear to you even before the song was a thing, and like it, and a lot of
Yeah,
these lyrical ideas, like from coming up with the lyrics for Jackie, and I even think heard you mention like "Blade and the Will" had sort of like a story behind it that influenced the music. So, but when you're
yeah.
when you're dealing with a constant structure change and stuff like that, do you find it harder to maintain to that concept in a way?
What do you mean, like with the
Yeah,
songs?
yeah, like when if the
I,
songs keep
I
changing.
write the lyrics afterwards.
Yeah.
I mean, the lyrics come last, so like the music can shift however the hell you know it needs to be. It doesn't affect. It usually doesn't affect anything about the thematic elements or the lyrical elements in the songs at all. No.
Okay.
And it's funny that you mentioned "Don't waste your time" too, actually, because yeah, I still do hold that message dear. I think when I first was wanted to use that as a slogan, it was like a more literal "Don't waste your time," get out there and seize the day. But as I go on, I'm like, "Don't waste your time" is more of a define what a waste of your time is first, right? Is wasting your time working all day, or is it laying around all day? And so, yeah, I guess I'll hold that close the rest of my life, because pretty soon I'm going to be like, I don't want to waste my time working. I'm going to go lay on the fucking beach or something.
Hey, fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, wasted time is sort of like a subjective concept. I can't tell you how many people have told me I'm wasting time by doing so many interviews, but I don't
Oh, there's
consider
no
it.
such. I feel like there's almost no such thing. Yeah, it's totally up to you
Yeah.
to decide what is a waste of your time for sure.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I did 870 interviews throughout the pandemic last year alone.
damn,
So, like, trying to beat
that's
my
like 3 a day, dude.
pretty much.
2.5 a day. Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
I mean, if you count the interviews I also did before the shutdown, because I did 62 at NAM, like in 4 days.
Yeah.
So,
Jesus, man, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's the
Well, good
marathon.
good on you. Yeah.
Got to keep the content going. But
Uh,
now mention kind of going back. I know I've mentioned this in the other two interviews, but on who you're portraying on stage, which I know is almost as essential as the music performing it live. Do you
yeah.
almost feel like you're going to express yourself in a different form of imagery now with a new album and a new band name?
Uh, yes and no. You're still going to have the kind of gothic sleekness with a metal crust to it that's going on live. We're still the same people, and by and large, the name still fits with our image and our aesthetic. So there's going to be maybe a little bit of an evolution, but yeah, I wouldn't. I don't see it affecting us too much. My plan still remains the same. Eventually we want to start getting some stage props going and really livening up the live stage show. We just haven't, and we were gonna do that. Pre-pandemic, we had like, I don't know if you saw the God's Work video, but we had these large crosses we had made for the Decibel tour, and they were going to be on each side of the stage, and like basically building on that. I'm like, I want more stage props. I want more interactive things. Like I could have like a mana well that I reach into with blue light coming out of, before a song starts, or you can have, stuff like that, banner switches, and hopefully pyro sooner than later and stuff like that.
Oh my
Because
God, I would love to see Pyro.
yeah, I mean, I just like shows like, for example, Maiden. Every time you watch them, each song they got a new banner, they got a whole new like theme for the, Aces High, they got the plane and they pull it back. And I'm like, obviously you need a bit of money to do that, but we got time at least, and one by one, step by step, just keep on adding little things to the stage show. That's the point.
Yeah, I mean, I already know that double negative is like the ultimate. When that shit kicks in after the introduction, that's a pyro fest right there. I pictured that in my mind. So,
Yeah, yeah, that
yeah,
would be pretty sweet, dude. Yeah,
yeah. I even think
yeah,
Jackie would have some beautiful pyro in there too. Like that would be the ultimate pyro ballad if you call it that.
yeah. Pyro ballad. Okay. Yeah, no, that's I could see it working for that too. There's some heavier parts of that song.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, using pyro in a new way for sure. Yeah, could
yeah.
be quite interesting.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah,
I almost feel like with every song you could incorporate it somehow. Like after the countdown in Dragon, Why Do You Cry? That could have
yeah,
some pyro in there. Blade in the Will
yeah.
would probably be your most one.
Yeah. I mean, fire is just cool in general. So I mean, I feel like you could just have it blasting off the whole time. Maybe
Yeah.
get some of those weird chemicals I can throw into it to change colors. But yeah,
Yeah. Let me know. We'll have when shows are back full force, we'll have plenty of leftover hand sanitizer to help enhance it if that helps at all.
yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe great for the show. I don't know how the venue would necessarily approve of it, but fuck it.
Yeah, that's the problem. Pyro's such a fucking red tape mess, man.
Yeah. Unless you're Rammstein.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's a licensed pyrotechnician, but it's like, you can't. There's no blanket thing. You have to get every show approved with each local fire district, have an inspector out, a fire marshal present. All this shit. Like all your stuff certified technicians running it, certified venue. Like there's just so many fucking rules, and really it's like basically impossible unless you're on an arena stage. Like you can't be doing that shit in the USA, at least on a theater stage. They
Yeah.
just don't allow that anymore.
Yeah. Great.
You can thank Great White for that, I suppose.
Yep,
But
and that band in Romania too, a Goodbye to Gravity. I think like 100 or so people died in that. So,
really,
yeah.
oh damn,
Yeah.
uh,
The whole band except one member passed from that too.
Jesus, what's Goodbye to Gravity?
Yeah, they're actually really good. They're kind of like I mean, if you're into metalcore at all, they kind of had that sort of like old school metalcore effect to it.
Wow, damn,
Yeah. So
I didn't hear about that. That sucks. When was this recent?
this was in
2000.
2015.
Wow. Okay, I'm surprised I didn't hear about that. Yeah,
Now,
that's terrible, man.
yeah, it sucks. But kind of on a more positive note, or with your style as positive it can
Yeah,
get at least.
yeah,
But like,
yeah,
and now with it almost seems like with with Onto Others, like I'm excited because I loved Mana, and I'm very excited to hear this new album. And it really just seems like though this is a new beginning because with the new band name and also signing with Roadrunner now, officially announcing that, like it almost seems like a lot of doors opened up for the future as well, right? Do you already have ideas for what the third album could be?
Yeah, I'm already well into the third record already. I got like 12 demos rolling right now, and I have what do you call it? I have a rough title for it that I think I'm going to use. I always say it's not concrete because I want to leave things open to if I come up with something cooler, basically. But I got a name for it. I have an artwork idea. I mean, honestly, like I'm ready to roll on it. Like I want to get in the studio and start recording it in a couple months, like maybe January, February. So yeah, without giving too much away. But yeah.
Do you think that having members who've played with different bands as well, like I actually interviewed a Silver Talon a couple months back, and I know that your guitar player's in that band as well, and like having and
Yeah.
you've played with a lot of
Oh,
bands as well.
I think he's not in them anymore. I think he recently left
Oh,
Silver Talon.
all right.
They just didn't announce it or something. Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Well, my bad.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, but do you think that like having members who play with different bands also maybe help bring like maybe some experimental elements into Onto Others as well, and maybe like bring in different techniques and stuff? Or with the formation of Onto Others, you kind of wanted to start, you always wanted to step into territory that you've never done before.
It might bring some elements, but by and large, I direct almost like 99.9% of the songwriting. So, um, I'd say me being in Silver Talon in the beginning, before I had to leave to work on this band, that probably affected it. But Sebastian being in Silver Talon, probably not so much, just because I do the bulk of the writing by myself. I'd say Colin has the most influence of all four of us, aside from me, because he's the one credited with writing all the cool drum parts. I can't do that shit. So,
Yeah.
and I really feel like he nails it. So, and he was in Silver Talon as well. So yeah, we got three members of Silver Talon here in the band right now. So
You got it. But I almost consider you the Portland super group at this point. You need like a member from Yob in the band. You need a member from Toxic Holocaust in the band. Actually, maybe that could be an idea. Maybe like a Portland compilation album.
dude, that's funny you mentioned that because I actually was considering. I did ask Joel Grind to fill in for a tour on bass, our first West Coast tour, and he was like, "Let me think about it." Actually, and I was going to have him on tour as our bassist, but ultimately we decided against it. I think he was busy too, but like I was consulting people like, dude, you're too small right now. If you have Joel Grind join, you're going to be that band that's just, that Joel Grind's in. People aren't going to take you as seriously. And I was like, yeah, there probably would be press, but it all would be focused around Joel Grind, like, so, okay, all right. Maybe this is a great idea. I love that guy,
Yeah.
too, by the way. Cool as fuck. But,
Well, I
yeah.
think it would have been hilarious just because Toxic Holocaust is like one of the most relentless bands ever. But like, I would just
Dude, I
love,
love,
yeah.
love him.
But you should have totally messed with him, have him fill in, and just play only your slow songs.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's yeah, that could have been great. Yeah, just Can You Hear the Rain over and over and then close out with Jackie.
Yep.
Yeah. Speaking of which, yeah, I should maybe hit him up soon to do a show. I've been thinking about doing this Portland show for a while. I'd have to see if the other bands are in, but like it'd be cool to have like Poison Idea, Toxic Holocaust, us, maybe Iwata or something like that, like as a Portland mini fest, and then add all the coolest bands in Portland to it, like metal and punk and shit like that. Like Bewitcher could play and shit. So
Yeah. Bewitcher's
yeah,
amazing.
I've been toying with it. It's just something that would take a lot of energy to make happen. And Poison Idea, I think, is a bit hard to get. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And the final question I wanted to ask you, and I've talked about it before extensively, but like, again, I'm still to this day, and I'm not like saying this to blow smoke by any means, but I'm still mesmerized by the first and only time I've seen you so far on the King Diamond tour. Again, I consider that to be one of the most memorable opening slots, and I'm right now the guy showing you your album, being like, yeah, well, I saw them when they were still called Idle Hands. So like,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Hell yeah, dude. Thank you very much,
yeah.
by the way. Yeah.
But having such a kinetic energy on stage, the way that you all move and the way that you all like, I feel like you move with your music and in turn the audience does as well. But like, do you almost have to practice your stage presence and your stage energy? Like, is Sebastian moving just as much in like the rehearsal spot as you are?
Oh fuck no, no, no. Rehearsal, we're just standing around playing. I think maybe people practice things at home and stuff, but a lot of the live stuff, if you don't want to be a total cornball and practice moves in front of a mirror, it usually comes from just being on tour. And by like night three, you'll like, be in the moment and do something. And then you'll see it on video like a couple days later and you'll be like, that's pretty cool. And then, okay, that's one of my moves now, So, I'm probably going to be playing guitar and singing for most of the upcoming shows. But, for when I was just being a frontman, it was like, okay, what am I gonna do? And I just wanted to be authentic. I didn't want to be like, hey, everybody, look at fucking me. It's like, really, it's about the music, and just emoting the parts of the songs that need to be emphasized, and that's about it.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, there's people who I'm not going to mention band names, but I've had conversations where like people set up puppets or something like that to practice like crowd interaction or stage presence, and like doing the whole mirror thing. I mean, I feel like though there's nothing that can prepare you for that. Like that's just one of those things you have to do more and more over again.
Yeah, for sure. It's a learning process. Like for every cool line or something you have, there's a bunch of duds, like the banter in between. You're like, okay, how do I speak to the crowd, connect with them, get them pumped on the shit, but also not fucking talk too much? And when I do talk, what do I talk about? You realize that you can't mumble as a frontman. I can't talk like this basically, like, yeah, and so, hey, how y'all doing tonight? Like, it's great to be right back here. With all the echo of fucking live room, they just hear, right on, we're Idle Hands, and basically it's trying to avoid that. You got to be like clear, direct, to the fucking point, so, the dumbest person in the room could get it or something, you know what I mean? Like that,
Well, do you
no
have to
dry, witty humor on there, like, or try to keep that down. I've tried to tell jokes and shit like that, like little subtle things, and they never fucking land. Maybe because they're not funny.
Do you have to? Well, is it necessary to even have it though? Like, can a band like be just as connecting without having and just go from one song to the next?
100%. Uwada has never spoken live, I think. That's why, yeah, like I said, I don't think it's the most important thing. With our band, I do like to talk sometimes. So like I have preset times in the set that I'm like, okay, this is where I'm going to talk about how the tour is going so far. And, it's great to be here. And then the next one's like, okay, we got a new record out. And then the last one's like, hey, thank you so much. We'll be back here in 3 months, at this place or something, that kind of thing. Just keeping it simple and playing the music, because ultimately they came there to watch the music. So,
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
So before we go, want to thanks again for another awesome time and another awesome interview. Is there just anything else coming up with the release of Strength that's coming out? I forgot the exact date, but
September 24th. Yeah.
September 24th. Is there just anything else that you would like to promote in terms of tours? Can you please come back to New York City when the shit is not hitting the fan?
Yeah, COVID permitting, we have plans to be in New York later this fall. So, yeah, you'll see us. The plan is you'll see us before the year's over. So.
Oh man, I can't wait for that. But thank you so much, everybody. Gabe, off on to others. Be sure to check out Strength coming out via Roadrunner Records. This is Alex from Heavy New York. We will see you next time.